I press myself against the mud and plasteel wall of the trench, fingers numb around the grip of my laser gun. The air is thick with the stench of promethium and decay. Overhead, the night sky flickers with distant artillery flashes, casting brief hellish light on the shattered no man's land ahead. In the darkness beyond our wire, I hear them, the Orks, roaring and stomping about, preparing for another charge at dawn. My heart thuds with a mix of dread and grim resolve. This is another morning in the Emperor's War on this forgotten world, and I suspect it will be my bloodiest yet. The trench is alive with whispers and the shuffling of boots. To my left, Trooper Hale murmurs a half-remembered prayer under his breath. "Emperor, give me strength. Emperor, shield me." His voice trembles as a distant explosion rattles dirt from the trench wall. I squeeze his shoulder, hoping to steady him, though I have no comfort to offer. We're all afraid. Only a fool, or a fanatic, wouldn't be. Across the churned ground before us, the night hides horrors. The land between our lines and the Orks is littered with corpses from yesterday's fighting, broken bodies of friend and foe tangled in barbed wire and cratered earth. The dead have become part of the landscape, a grim reminder of what fate may soon befall us. "Keep your eyes sharp, Ronan." The low, stern voice at my shoulder nearly makes me jump. I twist and snap a salute by reflex, recognizing the tall figure in the greatcoat and peaked cap. Even in darkness, Commissar Annika Brandt's presence is unmistakable. She looms over me, and Hale, like a statue of iron will. Her bolt pistol rests at her hip, and a chainsword hangs at her side, unignited but ready. Pale scars cross her left cheek, souvenirs from a dozen battlefields. She surveys us with eyes that reflect the distant flashes. "Yes, Commissar," I reply, forcing steel into my voice. Her gaze lingers on me a half-second longer than the others, and I feel oddly steadied by it. Annika Brandt is feared by most of the regiment, as any commissar should be, but those of us who have fought under her know she's more than an executioner. There's a resolve in her that inspires us, even if she never coddles with gentle words. Hale scrambles upright, clutching his rifle, fear stark in the whites of his eyes. "Commissar," he stammers, "the Orks. They're coming again, aren't they? One of the lads said no reinforcements are left. This might be it for us." His whisper carries raw panic. "I don't want to die here." Brandt's jaw tightens. For an instant, I think I see a flicker of sympathy. Or maybe I imagine it. She steps closer, placing a gloved hand on Hale's shoulder. The gesture is firm, not unkind. I brace for a harsh reprimand or a recitation of some righteous verse. Instead, she speaks quietly, each word measured. "Stand firm, soldier." Hale blinks, surprised by her tone. The commissar continues, voice low but iron hard. "We fight and die in the Emperor's name, but know this. Every Ork we slay here buys 1,000,000 of our people a few more hours of life. There is no greater glory than to suffer and triumph for humanity." She holds his gaze until, slowly, he manages a shaky nod. I watch some of the terror drain from the young trooper's face, replaced by a grim resolve. "Yes, ma'am," he whispers. "The Emperor protects. The Emperor protects," she echoes. I could swear there's a faint warmth in her voice as she says it. Then, just as quickly, she releases Hale and moves on down the line, checking on the others. She offers a steady word here, a cold glare there, keeping us focused. By the throne, I'd follow that woman through the gates of hell. And before this war is done, I suspect I might have to. I exhale a breath I'd been holding. Hale sinks back down, quietly chambering around and thumbing a small devotional icon on his belt for luck. His panic is tempered by duty now. I turn back to the parapet and peer over the edge into no man's land. A sickly pre-dawn glow creeps into the sky, revealing the nightmare expanse of craters and wire. In the distance I catch movement, crude Ork banners flapping, hulking silhouettes. massing for the assault. My hands tremble. I flex my grip on the laser gun until the shaking stops. Fear is natural, but duty overcomes fear. Courage is action in spite of terror. A shrill whistle suddenly pierces the pre-dawn air, one of ours, the signal to stand to and ready weapons. My gut clenches. Along the trench, sergeants bellow and soldiers scramble to their firing steps. Laser guns are primed with a rising whine, bayonets fixed with metallic clicks. I thumb my weapon selector to full auto, bracing it on the trench lip. Beside me, Hale breathes fast but steady as he sights down range. Eyes front, I shout, finding my command voice. I am Sergeant Ronan of the 113th Gaffis Rifles, and these men depend on me. Emperor, guide my aim. The whistle's echo barely dies before a guttural horn blast sounds from the Ork lines, followed by an otherworldly chorus of savage bellows. Hundreds of Ork voices thunder as one. I risk a peek and see them flooding forward in the murky dawn light, a horde of hulking green-skinned brutes clambering over their barricades and charging headlong across the plain. They fire as they run, tracers crisscrossing the grey sky. Even from here, I see their massive, muscular forms and rusted weapons gleaming. They are coming. Their war cry rises in a fever pitch, building into a deafening roar. War! Open fire! The order rings out before the echo of the Orks' war cry even fades. Our trench line erupts in a storm of light and thunder. With a whoosh, the heavy stubber team to my left opens up, its barrel flashing as it scythes rounds into the charging horde. Dozens of laser guns crackle alongside it, spitting red beams into the dawn. I squeeze my trigger in short bursts. The stock kicks against my shoulder, barrel heating with each shot. I can't tell if I hit anything. The Orks just keep coming, closing the distance alarmingly fast despite the withering fire and the mortar shells bursting among them. The world becomes noise and blood. To my right, a Guardsman hurls a grenade, just as an Ork rocket screeches in. The explosion engulfs him, spraying chunks of mud and flesh across the trench. I grit my teeth, tasting metal on my tongue. The Orks are close enough now that I see their grotesque faces beneath horned helmets, and hear their guttural snarls over the din. Hold the line, I bellow, though I barely hear my own voice. An Ork slug slams into the trench wall, inches from my head, showering me with splinters of wood and rockcrete. I duck on reflex, heart hammering in my chest. Thrown, they're almost here. A heartbeat later, the greenskins crash into our defences. The impact is physical, a wave of muscle, metal and fury smashing into our trench. What was a firing line dissolves into brutal hand-to-hand combat. The Orks are among us. The first Ork vaults into my section of trench like a feral beast. He's as big as an Ogryn, all corded muscle and rage. With a guttural snarl, he swings a rusted cleaver at my head. I hurl myself aside, the blade whooshing past my helmet by a hair. Before the beast can recover, I drive my bayonet into its gut and fire. My laser gun bucks, pumping a trio of red bolts into the Ork at point-blank range. The creature howls as charred holes burn through its flesh, but it still doesn't fall. Its massive arm swings out blindly and catches me, a glancing blow like a sledgehammer that still sends me crashing into the mud wall. Stars explode across my vision. My helmet saves my skull from cracking, but pain lances through my neck and ears. I stagger up, lungs heaving, and see the Ork already looming over me. Its piggish eyes blaze with murderous fury. Black blood oozes from its gut wounds, yet it raises that huge cleaver again, eager to finish me. My hands scrabble for my knife. Too late. A bolt pistol roars. The Ork's head disappears in a burst of bone and dark blood. The giant corpse sways, then topples face first into the muck at my feet. I blink, trembling with adrenaline. Standing atop the parapet is Commissar Brandt, smoke curling from her raised bolt pistol. She spared not a second to aim, and her shot was true. Her steely eyes meet mine for the briefest moment. She gives a curt nod, acknowledgement that I'm still alive, and then she's already turning, searching for the next target. Relief and gratitude flood through me. She saved my life. There's no time to dwell on it. A new threat barrels toward her from behind. An Ork nob, huge, even by Ork standards, clad in scrap armor, plated with trophies, lunges forward with a thunderous roar. Before I can warn her, the brute slams into the commissar like a battering ram, tackling her off the parapet. They crash down together into the trench in a heap of thrashing limbs. "Commissar," I shout, terror slicing through me. Ignoring the chaos around me, I vault over a pile of sandbags, rushing toward where I saw them fall. Nothing else matters now. Rounding a shattered support beam, I find them. Brant is pinned beneath the massive knob. Her cap is gone, auburn hair plastered with mud and blood. One of her arms is trapped under the creature's bulk, and her bolt pistol lies just out of reach. She's using her free forearm to strain against the nobby's crude blade, inches from her throat. The nob's face is half gone. Her bolt must have blown away its jaw, yet the creature is still very much alive, snarling as drool mingles with its blood. With a roar of my own, I slam into the nob's side. I drive my bayonet deep into the beast with everything I have. The blade finds a gap in its armor and plunges in deep. Hot, stinking blood spurts over my hands. The knob roars in agony and lashes out, backhanding me with a massive fist. The blow is like a wrecking ball. I'm lifted off my feet and thrown against the trench wall. Something cracks in my chest. Ribs or armor, I can't tell. Gasping, I collapse to all fours, fighting just to stay conscious. The knob staggers, then turns from Brant to me, raising its brutal chopper to finish me off. Before it can bring that blade down, a chainsaw snarl cuts through the air. Brant is back on her feet. With a snarl of fury, she swings her reactivated chainsword in a wide arc. The blade's teeth bite into the knob's thick neck and tear through meat and bone. In a spray of dark blood, the orc's head flies free and thuds into the mud. The massive body stays upright a second longer, swaying, before it collapses into the ground with a heavy thump. For a second I kneel there, stunned and gasping for breath. We did it. The knob is down. My head is ringing, and every limb feels leaden, but we're alive. Brant steps toward me, offering her hand. I grab on, and she hauls me upright, with a strength that belies her lean frame. We're both smeared in Ork gore, breathing hard. Amid the haze of smoke and blood, her eyes meet mine, filled with fierce relief. I think she even manages the barest hint of a smile. I open my mouth to speak, to thank her, to ask if she's hurt, but I never get the chance. An ear-splitting crack and brilliant flash erupt nearby as an artillery shell detonates alarmingly close. The ground heaves beneath us. The world tips end over end. I'm thrown hard, my back striking the ground. A wave of heat and dirt washes over me, ears ringing, vision blurred. I struggle to orient myself. Another shell hits, farther away but still too close. The concussive force steals the breath from my lungs. I dimly feel a sharp pain as debris slices across my cheek. My senses are overwhelmed. Everything is muffled, as if I'm underwater. Through the haze, I see Commissar Brant lying a few meters away. She's on her side, unmoving. A crimson streak of blood runs down the side of her face from beneath her shattered helmet. I try to crawl toward her, but my arms give out. "Annika," I rasp, my voice lost amid the ringing in my ears. Dust and smoke fill my mouth. I reach out a hand, dragging myself inch by inch across the churned ground. Before I can reach her, darkness swallows my vision. The last thing I feel is my fingers brushing the hem of her tattered coat, and then I sink into blackness. I wake to pain and the reek of antiseptic. My first breath is fire in my lungs. Overhead, a canvas tent roof flaps in a distant breeze. I'm on a cot, alive. Around me, Rows of wounded guardsmen lie on blood-stained stretchers. In the dim glow of lanterns, medici orderlies and wheezing servitors tend to the maimed. The air hangs heavy with the scent of blood, burned flesh and stale antiseptics. Memory floods back in jagged pieces. The trench, the Ork knob, the shell blast. Emperor, how did I survive that? Commissar Brandt. The thought hits me like a bolt. I lurch upright, ignoring the scream of my cracked ribs. A wave of dizziness slams me and I nearly collapse. An orderly rushes over, trying to ease me back down. Lie still, sir. You're badly. Where is she? I rasp, clutching his sleeve. The Commissar, Annika Brandt. She was with me. Recognition dawns in his eyes. She's here. They brought you in together. He swallows. She's alive. But I don't wait. I shove past him, staggering through the maze of cots. The tent spins around me, shapes of the wounded blurring into a grotesque tapestry. Men with charred faces, others missing limbs, too many barely clinging to life. I stagger onward, heart in my throat. Emperor, let her be okay. Let her be okay. At last I spot a partitioned corner of the tent. Behind a half-drawn curtain is Commissar Brandt. I stumble to her side and nearly buckle at the sight. She lies pale and still on the cot, stripped of her uniform coat, torso swathed in bloodied bandages. One arm rests in a sling across her chest. Her other arm lies limp at her side. A wrap of crimson-stained gauze encircles her head. Without her tall posture and crisp uniform, she looks fragile, nothing like the fierce warrior in the trenches hours before. I sink to my knees, my trembling hand finding hers. Her skin feels so cold. Commissar, I whisper. Her eyes are closed, lips colourless. For one terrifying moment I think she's already gone, but a faint ragged rise of her chest tells me otherwise. She's breathing, barely. She lost a great deal of blood, comes a quiet voice opposite me. I glance up to see the chief medici standing there, a gaunt man with a cybernetic lens over one eye. Dried blood spatters his apron and gloves. Multiple shrapnel wounds, massive trauma to the left side. We did what we could. My throat works, but the words stick. Finally I manage. Is she going to make it? The Medicai's lone augmetic eye whirs as he regards the unconscious Commissar. Her condition is extremely grave, he says softly. Even with transfusions and what treatment we have, the internal damage, out here, without a proper infirmary or medevac, I am afraid it's unlikely. A cold weight sinks in my gut. No, I croak, refusing to accept it. There must be something. Send a Vox for a medical flyer, or more supplies. We held the line. Reinforcements will come. She just needs time. My voice is rising, drawing a few glances from nearby patients. The Medicai's assistant steps forward, touching my shoulder. Sergeant, he says with gentle pity, I'm sorry. We can't stop the bleeding inside. We can only ease her pain. His tone is that of a man delivering a death sentence. I slump onto a small stool by her cot as my legs give out. The sounds of the tent fade away to a distant murmur. I stare at her face, at the strong, proud features now slack and ghostly. This can't be how it ends for her. Not on a cot in some muddy field hospital, slipping away without honour or fanfare. My vision blurs. I remember her once chiding a terrified recruit. Guardsmen don't cry, but now tears burn hot trails down my cheeks. I grip her hand tighter, willing my strength into her. Don't leave me, I whisper, voice breaking. Please, Annika, hold on. The Emperor protects, remember. Just hold on. She gives no sign of hearing me. Only the faint wheeze of her breath and the distant groans of other wounded break the silence. The chief medici clears his throat, stepping closer. Sergeant Ronan, he addresses me quietly. I've seen injuries like this before. By rights. She should already be dead. I won't lie to you. There's almost no chance she survives the night. Anger flares through my despair. I refuse to accept that. I stand, squaring my shoulders. There has to be a way. I won't let her die. The Medicai's face is drawn, but there's a spark in his eye. Perhaps there might be one way. No conventional treatment, mind you. Something experimental. It goes against every oath of the Medicai. My eyes narrow. What are you talking about? He glances around to ensure no one else is listening. Nearby, his assistant shifts uneasily, clearly startled by his superior's words. The chief Medicai lowers his voice. Not here. Meet me behind the apothecarium tent after lights out. In 1 hour. I will explain then. He hesitates, then adds gravely, Steel yourself, Sergeant. What I propose many would call heresy. The word hangs in the air like the toll of a funeral bell. Heresy. A chill prickles my skin. I turn to look at Annika, at Commissar Brandt, lying at the edge of death. Heretic or not, if there's even a sliver of hope to save her. For her, I'd damn myself 1,000 times, I whisper, voice like iron. I meet the Medicai's gaze. I'll be there. Night has fallen on the camp by the time I slip behind the Medicai tent. The air is clammy and smells of damp earth and smoke. A few lanterns cast thin beams through tent flaps, but here at the edge of the aid station, it's mostly darkness and hush. I spot the tall, gaunt silhouette of Medicai Lieutenant Karsoff by a stack of crates, a small lumen lamp in hand. Over here, he whispers. I join him, heart pounding. He's shed his bloody apron, but dried gore still stains his sleeves. Under one arm he carries a satchel bulging with medical tools. I wet my lips. What do you need me to do? Follow me. Karsoff leads the way, keeping to the shadows at the perimeter of the camp. Distant artillery rumbles, and occasional flares turn the low clouds, a sullen orange. In the brief flashes, I catch glimpses of rows of blanketed corpses awaiting burial in the morning. The dead seem to watch us pass in silence. As we walk, Karsoff speaks in a low, urgent murmur. Orks are remarkably hardy. Wounds that would kill a man in minutes barely slow them. I've studied their flesh when I could, discreetly. We're taught it's an abomination to even consider, but what if alien biology could save human lives? He glances at me, gauging my reaction. My jaw is clenched tight. Every instinct in me still recoils at the thought of polluting a human body with xeno filth. But I think of Annika gasping for breath, and I nod for him to continue. We reach a shallow pit behind the surgery tent, and a foul smell hits me. Cloying rot and blood. My stomach turns as I realize what this is. The refuse dump for amputated limbs and battlefield scraps. Even in darkness I can make out butchered human remains, mixed with chunks of green flesh. There, an orc corpse sprawls half in the pit, missing its head and one arm. Flies buzz angrily as Karsoff lifts his lamp, illuminating the carcass, and a heap of severed orc limbs piled like grotesque firewood. He sets down his satchel and pulls on rubber gloves. The commissar's left flank is torn open. Skin, muscle, part of the lung gone. She's bleeding inside. Our normal means can't repair that, but orc flesh knits fast and endures infection. If I graft a slab of living orc tissue onto a wound, it might seal the damage and keep her alive. The pitiful light glistens on mottled green flesh and coagulated black blood. My mind balks at what he's saying. Graft alien flesh onto her body. Commit the ultimate heresy upon her. I sway slightly, nausea rising. Karsoff fixes me with a hard stare. This is the line, Sergeant. I cannot cross it without your consent. If we do this, we'll be guilty of tech heresy and worse. If we don't, she dies. I'm willing to bear that sin. Are you? My mouth is dry as ash. I squeeze my eyes shut and see her face again in my mind, fearless even in the face of death. She gave everything for the Imperium, for us. She doesn't deserve to die like this. Emperor, forgive me. What do you need? I whisper. He exhales, perhaps with relief. A fresh piece of orc flesh, preferably large and intact. He nods toward the big headless orc corpse at the pit's edge. Blood still oozes from its stump, sticky and dark. That one will do. Help me harvest part of its musculature. We slog through the muck to the alien cadaver, up close. The orc's size is daunting. Even limp in death, it radiates brute strength. Karsov produces a serrated field saw from his bag and hands it to me. Cut through the upper arm there, he instructs softly. We need a slab of muscle and hide about a foot square. Hands trembling, I set the saw teeth against the orc's massive upper arm. The blade bites into rubbery skin and dense muscle. I grip my teeth and saw hard. Dark, tarry blood wells out, coating my hands. The stench is overwhelming, a nauseating mix of iron and something like rotten fungus. My stomach lurches, but I keep cutting. Driven by desperation, Emperor, give me strength. With a grisly crunch, I sever through the humerus. The orc's lower arm falls into the pit with a thud, leaving a gaping socket of meat and splintered bone at the shoulder. I nearly retch, but manage to hold it back. Good, Karsov whispers. He pulls a scalpel and quickly slices away excess tatters of the orc's torn shirt and crude armor from the slab of arm still attached to the torso. Then, working together, we carve out a chunk of muscle and hide large enough to cover a man's torso. It's hideous, heavy and slick in our hands. I drop the saw, wiping a smear of orc blood from my cheek with a shaking hand. It smears like oil and smells foul. My heart is hammering, as if in revolt at what we're doing. Karsov takes out a flask and pours a syrupy chemical over the slab of flesh. Disinfectant and preservative, he explains. The liquid hisses faintly, washing away some of the slime and gore. He then seals the dripping hunk of green flesh inside a clean surgical wrap. I stare at the bundle, chest heaving. In that cloth lies something utterly profane and possibly miraculous. Will it really work? I ask, my voice barely audible. Human and orc. They're so different. He presses his lips into a thin line. I'll be honest, I don't know. Orc biology is strangely adaptable. They can eat our rations, breathe our air. Their blood can sometimes complement ours in emergency transfusions. I've tested it. He stops himself, as if realizing he's said too much. What I do know is that they heal unbelievably fast. If any flesh can close her wounds in time, it's this. Lightning forks in the distant sky, illuminating the camp for a split second. I catch a glimpse of myself reflected in a pooling puddle, gaunt, hollow-eyed, spattered with alien blood. It hardly looks like me at all. Then, let's get on with it, I say, swallowing hard. I heft Karsov's satchel, and the two of us hurry back toward the tent, burdened with our grisly prize. We slip inside the canvas walls, into a pool of dim light. Around us, dozens of wounded still lie oblivious, lost in fevered dreams or Morpheus stupor. None pay us any mind. In a secluded corner, Karsov has prepared a makeshift surgical station, a cot cleared off and draped in sterilized sheets, instruments boiling in an alcohol lamp, and a portable generator humming softly to power a surgical lumen. Everything is ready. As Karsov lays out the tools and the slab of orc flesh, I take one last steadying breath. Fear claws at my insides, but I shove it down deep. There's no turning back now. Emperor, guide us, I murmur, not even sure if what we do deserves his blessing. My hands still reek of alien blood. Karsov draws a curtain around us and positions an ether mask over Commissar Brandt's pale face to keep her under. Our eyes meet across her unconscious form. So be it, he says quietly, and under the cover of darkness we begin the unholiest of surgeries to save her life. I scrub my hands and forearms with antiseptic until my skin is raw. Under the pale surgical lumen, Commissar Brandt lies unconscious on a makeshift operating table, ether mask over her nose and mouth. Her chest rises shallowly. Karsoff has peeled back the blood-soaked bandages from her side, revealing a wound worse than I feared. Her left flank is a gory cavity of shredded flesh and shattered bone. I can see part of her lung visible in the carnage, torn muscle, splinters of shattered rib, and ragged lung tissue glisten in a pool of dark blood. Shrapnel fragments pepper the mangled flesh. The edges of the wound are already blackening with infection. I fight down a swell of nausea and horror. How can anyone live through this? Karsoff's voice snaps me into focus. Dead tissue has to go. Scalpel. Suction. Jaw tight. I hand him instruments as needed. What follows is a blur of grisly work, slicing away necrotic flesh, extracting embedded metal shards, cauterizing bleeders. The tent fills with the stench of burned meat and chemicals. Blood wells with every cut. I swab and suction as fast as he clears the wound. Once, her heart flutters and nearly stops. We both freeze, and I find myself holding my breath until a weak pulse resumes on the cogitator screen. Emperor, keep her with us. Finally, the wound is debrided and as clean as we can get it. A raw, crimson void, about the size of a man's handspan across her flank. Crimson blood oozes from the open vessels, and I can see the faint movement of her punctured lung beneath a cracked rib. She won't last much longer like this. Graft time, Karsoff says. His voice is strained but determined. I retrieve the bundle of orc flesh from a basin of disinfectant. Unwrapping it, the slab of green muscle looks grotesque under the lamp, slick, rubbery, with strands of tendon dangling. It still twitches faintly in my hands, as if some vestige of life clings to it. We lay the chunk of alien flesh over the gaping wound. It more than covers the area. Using scissors, Karsoff trims it down to shape, cutting away excess. Black blood oozes from the severed edges, and the meat gives an involuntary shudder. My skin crawls at the sight. Karsoff produces a syringe filled with a cloudy amber fluid, marked with biohazard runes. With quick precision, he injects the concoction into several points along the graft. Coagulant enzyme. Hopefully it helps bind tissues, he murmurs. Together, we begin suturing the orc flesh to her. I hold the graft in place while Karsoff drives surgical needles through skin and muscle, stitching human and xeno together, stitch by stitch. The orc tissue is tough, it resists the needle, but we persist. The commissar's pale flesh and the mottled green hide meet at the suture line in a crude patchwork. My hands are slick with both human and orc blood as I tie off the final suture. It's in place, I whisper, voice trembling with exhaustion. On the table, Annika looks like some ghastly experiment out of a nightmare, half of her torso covered in alien flesh held by dozens of crude stitches. Without warning, her body jolts. Annika's back arches off the table, and a strangled gasp rasps from her throat beneath the mask. The monitor erupts in alarm as her heart rate spikes wildly. Emperor! I lunge to hold her down, pinning her shoulders as she convulses. Her eyes roll under the lids, limbs twitching. She's seizing. Karsoff curses and grabs a loaded syringe. Sedative. Now. He plunges it into her IV. I grip my teeth, keeping her body as still as possible on the table. It lasts only a few seconds, though it feels like hours. Then her tremors subside. She slumps back onto the blood-slick sheets, motionless once more. The monitor beeps stabilize into a rhythm, faster and stronger than before. Breathless, I realize I've been praying under my breath. Throne. What was that? I gasp. Karsoff wipes sweat from his brow with his forearm. Likely her body reacting to the graft. Shock. Adrenaline surge. Hard to say. He peers at the vital readouts and allows a tentative hint of hope. Heart rate and pressure are up a bit. That's actually better than before. I look down at her side. The greenish flesh lies snug against her wound, already drenched in her blood. To my astonishment, along the seam it looks like her flesh and the green flesh are beginning to knit together. Perhaps it's my weary eyes, but maybe it's taking. Will she make it? I whisper. Karsoff takes a clean roll of gauze and begins wrapping it around her torso, covering the unsettling graft from sight. We've done all we can. If the graft holds and doesn't rot or get rejected, she has a chance. He finishes bandaging her, then gently removes the ether mask from her face to let her breathe on her own. Now it's up to the Emperor and her own will to survive. We clean up in silence. My fingers feel numb as I strip off my sticky gloves. I only now notice blood seeping through the dressing on my own side. My exertion has torn my stitches. I ignore it. How long until we know? I ask. Karsoff tidies the surgical tools with shaking hands. If she lasts till morning without crashing, that's a good sign. Infection, fever, those will be the next battles. He sounds utterly spent. I move to Annika's side. Her face is calm, almost peaceful now, despite the bandages swathing her body. I reach out and touch her cheek lightly. It's warm, warmer than before. A fragile spark of hope kindles in my chest. You fought too hard to die now. I whisper to her. Don't you dare leave me. Not now. Karsoff steps away to dispose of the remaining xenotech evidence and bloody linens, giving us a moment of privacy. Gently he drapes a clean blanket around my shoulders. Only then do I realize I'm shivering uncontrollably, adrenaline and exhaustion crashing down. You should rest. I'll take first watch, he says softly, but I can't tear my eyes from Annika. I'm staying with her, I reply. So I stay. Karsoff pulls 2 stools up beside her cot, and together we keep vigil. Outside, thunder rumbles and the night wears on. I don't know when my eyes finally close. I fight sleep with every fibre, but the ordeal has broken me. The last thing I remember is the steady rise and fall of her chest under the blanket and the gentle beeping of the heart monitor. Against all odds, she is still alive. My red oath is fulfilled. I would spill any blood, even a monster's, to save her. And by the Emperor's grace, she yet lives. Dawn's first light finds me still at her bedside. I must have dozed off, because a faint rustling startles me awake. Commissar Brandt is stirring. She lies under blankets, eyes fluttering beneath pale lids. For a moment I wonder if I dreamed the whole horrific night, but the ache in my bones and the dried blood on my uniform sleeves say otherwise. I lean forward, heart pounding. Commissar? Annika. A soft groan escapes her lips. Her right hand twitches at her side, fingers curling weakly. Then, with a small pained sigh, her eyes open a crack. Those icy blue eyes, usually so sharp and commanding, now look glassy and confused as they try to focus. Sergeant. Her voice is a ragged whisper. She blinks, and recognition slowly kindles. Ronan. Hearing her say my name nearly undoes me. I force a trembling smile. I'm here. Easy now, Commissar. You're in the medici tent. You were hurt, but you're going to be all right. Her brow furrows as she struggles to gather herself. The Orks, the trenches, she murmurs. Then, her eyes widen with a flash of memory. Her left hand drifts toward her bandaged side. The shell? She tries to sit up, but a gasp of pain hisses through her teeth. Instantly, I place a hand on her uninjured shoulder and gently press her back down. Don't move. Please. You have to stay still. For once. She doesn't protest an order. Her head sinks back onto the thin pillow, jaw clenched against the agony radiating from her wounded flank. Even beneath layers of fresh bandages and a linen wrap, I see fresh blood seeping through at her side. The lines, status, she manages, between shallow breaths, ever the dutiful officer. I shake my head quickly. The Orks didn't attack again after you fell. We held them. The greenskins pulled back to lick their wounds. I hesitate, then add softly. We won, Commissar. Thanks largely to you. Her eyes search mine, and some tension eases from her expression. She gives the barest nod. Good. That's good. For a moment neither of us speaks. My throat tightens with emotion. I truly thought I would never see those eyes open again. How? She swallows and tries again, voice low. How bad is it? My injury? I expected that question. You were hurt very badly, I say slowly. Shrapnel, damage, blood loss. We nearly lost you. She falls quiet, absorbing that. The commissar in her hates the very idea of weakness, of coming so close to death. I can almost see her filing the information away stoically, but then something shifts in her gaze. Then why am I alive? She whispers. I remember the pain, choking on blood. I fought. She trails off. I force myself to hold her eyes. Medikai Karsov saved you, Emperor's grace, and your own stubborn will. It's not a lie, I tell myself. It's just not the full truth. She glances around. Only now do I realize Karsov isn't here. He must have stepped out to get some rest or attend other patients once I took over watch. Most of the other wounded in the tent are still asleep or sedated in the early morning hush. Her attention returns to me. She studies my face with a strange, searching expression. Sergeant, what exactly did the medici do? I should be dead. My mouth goes dry. He performed emergency surgery, I say carefully, removed the shrapnel, stitched you up as best he could. It was touch and go. Her gaze drills into me, and for a heartbeat, I worry she senses the omission. She has a knack for detecting lies, but I haven't exactly lied, just not told her the unspeakable step we took. Not now, not yet. Humph. She actually musters a faint scoff. Stubborn, am I? A ghost of dry humour, until the effort makes her grimace in pain. Easy. I slide an arm under her shoulders to help her sip from a tin cup. Even that small motion sends a tremor of pain through her, but she manages a few small sips before I ease her back down. Thank you, she murmurs. The word is so soft I almost think I imagined it. Commissars aren't known for thanking people. Her faint thanks nearly brings tears to my eyes. I look away and adjust her blanket. Just rest. You need to regain your strength. She closes her eyes, breathing shallowly for a few moments. I wonder if she might drift off again, but then she speaks, quietly earnest. Ronan, I remember you carrying me out. You wouldn't let go. Despite myself, I give a shaky smile. Not even the Emperor himself could have made me leave you there. Her eyes glisten, perhaps with gratitude. Suddenly her brow furrows. My side. It feels strange. She moves under the blanket, her left hand drifting toward her bandaged flank. My pulse spikes. It's heavily bandaged, I say quickly. Please don't touch it. You'll tear the stitches. It doesn't hurt as much as I expected, she murmurs. It feels numb, like pressure there. That's the bandages and packing doing their job. And you're on strong painkillers, I say. She seems to accept that for now. She relaxes her hand, resting it atop the blanket instead of probing further. I exhale quietly in relief. Karsov returns, relieved she's awake. He urges her to rest and leaves to tend other wounded. She closes her eyes, looking more exhausted from a few minutes of conversation than from any battle I've seen her fight. Her hand rests near mine. I almost reach out to hold it, but stop myself. Get some sleep, I whisper. I'm not going anywhere. Her lips curve in the faintest smile as she drifts back into slumber. 2 days later, Commissar Brandt is on the mend against all odds. Medikai whisper of miracles. I stay by her cot, helping her drink broth and even walk a few steps. She still feels numb in her side, but little pain. Inwardly, I'm knotted with anxiety. Each time Karsov and I change her dressings, I see it, a sliver of slick green flesh under the gauze. We've kept it hidden from her so far, but we can't forever. On the third night, as rain patters on the canvas overhead, she suddenly cries out from a nightmare. I reach to wake her, but before I can stop her, she throws off her blanket and rips away the bandages around her midsection. The lantern light reveals the truth in lurid detail, a large swath of rubbery green flesh grafted to her side, stretching from below her armpit to her hip. Black veins spider through the sickly tissue, merging into her own pink skin at the ragged, sutured seams. The commissar's breath catches. Her gloved hand hovers inches from the grotesque patchwork that is now part of her. "Emperor, protect me," she croaks. "Commissar, please," I beg, heart in my throat. I reach out, as if I could shield the sight from her eyes. I can explain. She turns a look on me that strikes me to my core. Betrayal, horror, and fury swirling behind those eyes. For a moment, I think she might pull her sidearm on me. Her hand even twitches toward her bolt pistol on the side table, though she doesn't draw it. "What have you done?" she demands, each word trembling with rage. "What did you do to me, Ronan?" My throat works soundlessly. I drop to one knee by her cot, palms out. "We saved you," I say hoarsely. "You were dying, Annika. No human remedy could save you." Karsoff. He had studied Ork physiology. He suggested Ork. Her voice is almost a hiss. She gingerly touches the edge of the green skin and flinches. "You put alien filth on me. Inside me." "It was the only way," I say urgently, keeping my voice low. "Your wounds were too severe. We grafted a piece of Ork flesh to close the damage. Otherwise you'd be dead. I swear on my life, we did it only to save you." She closes her eyes tightly, jaw clenched. I can see the war within her. Duty and purity versus the will to live. A lone tear escapes her cheek. She angrily wipes it away. "A commissar, a servant of the Emperor, defiled with Xenos corruption," she whispers, voice broken. "This is heresy, Ronan. Abomination. I should be executed for this. Stop." I rise and grasp her by the shoulders. She doesn't resist, but her eyes blaze with fury. "Annika, please. If you die, what of the soldiers who died following you? Would their sacrifice mean nothing if you throw yourself away now?" She opens her mouth to retort, then falters. I plunge on. "The Imperium needs you. I need you. We did what we had to do to keep you alive. Yes, it's unholy. Yes, if the Inquisition knew, they'd deem us both heretics. But officially, you recovered by the Emperor's grace. We keep this secret, and you continue to serve, to lead and inspire as before." Her breathing is ragged, but I see her steel returning as my words sink in. "And if I become some monstrosity, if this alien infection turns me into something not human..." She nearly chokes on the last words. I steady my grip on her shoulders. "Then I will do my duty," I say quietly. "I will end it. I give you my word on my life. If the time comes that you lose yourself to this thing, I will stop you myself." My voice catches, but I force the vow out. "You will not suffer that fate, nor endanger anyone else. This I swear, Annika." She searches my face for any hint of doubt. Finding none, she closes her eyes and bows her head slightly. A shudder runs through her. "You realize what you're promising," she says hollowly. "If I show any sign of corruption, you'll have to put a bolt in my skull. Can you do that, Ronan?" Though it pains me, I don't hesitate. I pray that day never comes, but if it does, yes. I raise my hand, palm out in oath. "On the blood we've shed together, I swear it." For a long moment she is silent, then she nods. "Very well." She draws a shaking breath, her face hardening back into familiar resolve. When she speaks again, her voice is low but firm. "We carry this secret to our graves. Understood?" "Yes, Commissar," I reply softly. Some tension leaves her. I gently rebind her side with the discarded bandages. She allows it, lying back with a grimace. I work carefully, securing the gauze over that foul but life-saving graft once more. The red oath, she murmurs, staring at the tent ceiling as I tie off the bandage. I pause, unsure I heard right. Mom? She manages a faint, bitter smile. An oath sworn in blood. Yours, mine, and the aliens. Her eyes find mine, and there's a touch of dark humor in them now. Emperor knows what the ecclesiarchy would say. I huff a quiet laugh of relief that she can still joke. I won't be telling them, if that's what you're worried about. Her smile fades to a weary earnestness. Thank you, she whispers. I rest my hand over hers. She doesn't pull away. For a few moments we sit in silence, two soldiers bound by a secret oath. Outside, the rain drums steadily, washing the blood of battle into the mud. When Commissar Brunt is finally back on her feet, the war against the Orks reaches fever pitch. Enraged by earlier defeats, the Greenskins launch a full-scale offensive at dawn on the outskirts of the last Imperial-held city on this forsaken world. Our regiment is thrown into the meat grinder to hold the line. Trenches are dug anew, artillery shakes the earth day and night, and the air reeks of promethium and death. Commissar Brandt remains a pillar of resolve, barking orders, executing cowards, rallying the troops. To most she seems as fierce as ever. Only I notice how she quietly tires faster, or how her left arm sometimes trembles at rest. She accepts no coddling, keeping her side tightly bandaged under her greatcoat. No one dares question her still pale complexion. Word comes down the line that the Orks have brought forth a new war boss to lead this final assault, a hulking brute named Scarslug, a notorious butcher. Scarslug has been bellowing challenges from atop a wrecked tank, whipping his horde into a frenzy. We know that when the Orks come this time, it will be like a tidal wave. Dawn lightens the smoke-filled sky grey as we await the onslaught. I find myself in the same trench as Annika, once again, just a few paces from her command post. She stands tall on the fire step, peering through field binoculars at the seething mass of Orks mustering across the blasted plain. Her greatcoat snaps in the foul breeze as her vox-amplified voice carries down the line. Stand firm, men of the Imperium. The Emperor is with us. Show these xeno-beasts no fear. A raucous cheer answers her, even as crude Ork horns begin to blare. I grip my lace gun tightly. Despite everything, or perhaps because of it, my faith in her has never been stronger. She caught my eye a minute ago and gave me a resolute nod. We both know what might be coming, but we'll face it together, with an echoing wah. That shakes the morning. The Ork tide surges forward, thousands of greenskins charging behind roaring engines and clattering war buggies. The ground quakes under their ferocious charge. Open fire, Commissar Brandt commands, arm raised high. Our trench erupts in a blaze of gunfire and rocket trails. The battle is joined in an ear-splitting cacophony. I lose track of time in the frenzy. Orks slam into our defensive lines, turning sections of trench into charnel houses. I fight like a man possessed, bayoneting a snarling Ork boy off the parapet, then blasting another at point-blank range. Everywhere is blood and fury. Through the chaos, I keep half an eye on Annika. She is a crimson and black spectre striding along the trench, bolt pistol barking and chainsword revving. At one point I see her physically haul a faltering guardsman up by the collar and shove him back to his post, before coolly blowing apart the face of an Ork that vaulted in behind them. Her courage is electrifying. Every time her sabre rises, a dozen voices shout, "For the Emperor," and redouble their efforts. Scarslug, the war boss, finally enters the fray, barrel-chested and towering over even the other Orks. He wears a necklace of human skulls and swings a massive powered claw that crackles with stolen energy. When our lines briefly falter under a brutal Ork push, Skarslug seizes the moment and leads a wedge of nopes straight into a breach not far from our position. "Commissar, the warboss is in the trench," I shout into the din, pointing down the line. Even without my warning, she sees him. It's impossible to miss the brute, hurling aside guardsmen like ragdolls. Annika doesn't hesitate. With a defiant cry, she leaps up out of our trench and charges through the shell-marked ground towards Skarslug, her coat billowing. A handful of stunned guardsmen rally and follow her, myself included. What else can we do? We crash into the knobs, escorting the warboss in a wild melee. I fire my laser gun into the face of one big orc, then draw my blade when an orc cleaver knocks the weapon from my hands. Around me, men scream and steel clashes with crude axe blades. Commissar Brandt cleaves a charging knob from shoulder to gut in a single strike. Even she seems momentarily surprised as the orc's bifurcated corpse slumps apart. Then Skarslug roars, and all her focus snaps back to the enemy. "Come on then, you filth," she shouts at the warboss, leveling her bolt pistol. She fires twice. Explosive rounds detonate against Skarslug's slab-like breastplate, staggering the giant. With a snarl, the orc leader lunges at her, swinging that crackling power claw. She sidesteps with inhuman agility, far faster than I've seen her move before. The claw gouges a crater in the mud. Annika plunges her chainsword into the exposed joint of Skarslug's arm, wrenching a bellow of pain from the monster. Green blood spurts. Skarslug backhands her with his free arm, the blow glancing off her torso armor, yet knocking her to the ground. I cry out in fear, thinking her gravely hurt, but to my astonishment, she rolls back to her feet almost instantly. In the rising dawn light, I catch a glimpse of her face, lips curled not in pain or fear, but in a snarl of anger, battle fury. She launches herself at Skarslug again with a raw scream. The warboss swings his claw in a wide, deadly arc. Brandt doesn't even try to evade this time. She steps into the swing. The powered pincers slam shut on her left forearm. I hear the crunch even over the surrounding chaos. Annika cries out, and for one heart-stopping moment I think her arm has been severed, but the claw only locked onto the augmetic beneath her elbow. Sparks fly as it crushes metal instead of bone. With her free hand, she presses her bolt pistol right to Skarslug's beady red eye and pulls the trigger. The warboss's head disappears in a point-blank explosion of blood and skull fragments. The towering orc collapses with a heavy thump, his gargantuan body spasming headless on the trench floor. For a moment the battlefield around us falls into stunned silence. Then our guardsmen, seeing the warboss fall, roar in triumph. Skarslug is dead. The remaining orcs waver, some fleeing or cut down as our line surges forward. I rush toward Annika, who has yanked her mangled arm free of the sparking claw. To my amazement, she is still standing, chest heaving, splattered in orc blood. Her left sleeve is shredded, and her augmetic elbow joint is crushed and useless. Yet, she seems not to notice the injury at all. She throws her head back and lets out a sharp, exultant laugh. It is not a sound of triumph I recognize. It chills me. "Commissar," I call out cautiously, approaching Brandt as the adrenaline of combat wanes around us. Orcs are in full rout now, our forces pushing them from the trenches amid victory cries. But Annika remains standing over Skarslug's corpse, shoulders rising and falling with each ragged breath. The laugh I heard still rings in my ears. She turns toward me, eyes manic and cheeks flecked with orc blood. The grin on her face is one I barely recognize, and it chills me. "We did it, Ronan," she shouts hoarsely. She raises her chainsword, sputtering with gore, and pumps it in the air. The bastards are running. All around, guardsmen begin to notice the commissar's victorious fervor. A cheer goes up at her words. Many take off in pursuit of the fleeing greenskins, eager to turn the rout into a slaughter. Normally Commissar Brandt would rein in such disorder, but now she urges them on. Yes, give no quarter. Annika howls, leaping up out of the trench entirely. With her shattered augmetic arms sparking at her side, she charges after the retreating enemy, firing her bolt pistol into their backs. Purge them, chase them down. I clamber out of the trench, alarm blooming in my chest. I shout for the men to hold position, but her orders carry far more weight. Annika whirls on me, face twisted in a scowl. No mercy, Ronan. We can crush them. Her stare is nearly unhinged. I falter. Several squads of guardsmen, caught up in the commissar's zeal, clamber over the top and charge after her, bayonets fixed. Order dissolves as our line splinters into pockets of men giving chase. Some more level-headed officers bellow for them to hold position, but their voices are lost in the frenzy. Annika is already several dozen yards ahead, closing on a straggling knot of orcs near a wrecked chimera. She falls upon the wounded greenskins with terrifying ferocity. They stand no chance. By the time I catch up, it's over. The last orc lies at her feet, already in its death throes. Annika stands over it, chest heaving. Die! Die! She spits and plunges her chainsword downward. The blade teeth chew through the dying creature's torso, flesh and bone. The orc spasms and falls still, clearly dead, but she doesn't stop. With a snarl, she wrenches the chainsword free and strikes again, sawing the corpse into chunks. Green-black blood splashes her boots. Annika, I rush forward and seize her right arm mid-swing before she can mutilate the body further. It's done. It's over. She rounds on me violently, yanking her arm from my grip. For a heartbeat, I fear she'll turn her chainsword on me. Her eyes are wild and unfocused, her lips peeled back in a growl. She's lost in the bloodlust, unable to distinguish friend from foe. Commissar, stand down, I say, trying to keep my voice firm though my heart is hammering. It's me, Ronan. The enemy's finished. Her gaze flickers. Some part of her registers my words. The feral snarl falters. She blinks rapidly, as if waking from a nightmare. Ronan, she whispers, confusion and dread knitting across her features. Several guardsmen rush over, drawn by the commotion, but they stop short at the gory scene, their commissar standing blood-drenched among butchered orcs. I see fear and confusion in their faces. Commissar took a knock to the head. I snap, stepping into their line of sight to block their view of her trembling form. She's all right. Get back to your posts, all of you. They hesitate, but my tone brooks no argument. With uneasy salutes, the soldiers disperse. When they're gone, Annika sways on her feet. I reach to steady her, but she shrugs me off. A monster. She chokes, staring at her gauntlet, which still drips orc blood. I became just like them. No, I say fiercely, though tears blur my vision. You're nothing like them. You had a moment, but it's past. We'll get through this. She closes her eyes, a tear carving a clean line down her grime-caked face. Ronan, you know the truth. This thing inside me, it's only a matter of time. She bows her head. I can't risk the lives of any more of my men. I can't risk becoming a weapon of chaos or worse. Around us the distant battle still rages, but here in this shell, crater time stands still. I already know what she will ask of me. Our oath, Annika whispers, opening her eyes. They are filled not with fury now, but with infinite sorrow. Do it. Do it now, before I falter again. That's an order, Sergeant. My throat locks. I had hoped it wouldn't come to this, but here we are. She sees my hesitation, and to my surprise, a ghost of her old, wry smirk touches her mouth. Don't make me repeat myself, Guardsman. I bite back a sob and draw my last pistol. My hands shake as I thumb the power setting to maximum. She kneels down in the mud, amidst the green and red gore, and bows her head in prayer. I step behind her, Placing the barrel gently against the back of her skull, my vision swims with tears. "The Emperor protects," she murmurs softly. "The Emperor protects," I echo in a broken whisper. A single shot rings out. Her body slumps forward and goes still, the muddy ground drinking in a spreading pool of bright red blood. They listed Commissar Annika Brandt as killed in action against the Orks, her heroism in slaying Warboss Scarslug instrumental to our ultimate victory. No one questions the official report. I wrote it myself, ensuring it remembered her as the fearless, loyal soul I knew. Only I know what truly happened. As I stand over her freshly dug grave under the ashen evening sky, I think back to that night in the medici tent, the smell of antiseptic and rain, her cold hand in mine as I swore that impossible oath. I kept that oath, though it has shattered something in me to do it. I plant her shattered chainsword in the earth at the head of the grave, its blade pointing toward heaven. "The Red Oath," I whisper, voice trembling but clear. In the crimson sunset light, I salute one final time. Her duty ended, mine continues, carrying the burden of our secret and the memory of the bravest, most human soul I've ever known.